The Friday fill-up, thanks to 3YBFM.
Well, welcome to the Friday fill-up, all thanks to 94.5 3YBFM, and of course Greggy Kelson, who is our racing expert, has been kind enough to join us. And Eyes, it's pretty exciting this time of the year, isn't it?
Mate, best time of the year by far, and there's plenty of spring racing still to come. But this time of year, if you can't get excited about racing, there really is something wrong with you, isn't there?
Oh, I tell you what, and how good was racing last weekend too? It was magnificent, and we've got the great trainer here, of course, local trainer Jared McLean, and also stable foreman for the DK Weir stable. Mate, we know how good the Weir camp's going at the moment. It's just unbelievable, isn't it, the run he's having, Jared? It's magnificent to watch.
Yeah, it's been terrific. Obviously, we're in the early part of the spring now, and we've started incredibly well, so hopefully we can continue the luck and keep the fill-up happening.
Oh, I tell you what, the fill-up is happening well and truly, that is for sure. Racing, of course, this weekend heads to Caulfield for Group 1s, and then, of course, Sydney's got the big Everest, and, well, that's been a massive week up there, hasn't it? The talking point about the Everest on the sales of the Opera House, Eyes.
Unbelievable, and has that been blown out of proportion or what? There was nothing on the side of the Opera House, so wouldn't you think it'd promote the Opera House? I can't actually understand how they've got so excited about it, but and this is going to be big for Sydney, so why not promote it on something that we know is Sydney?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, they got a fair bit of publicity out of it, that is for sure.
100%.
Anyway, boys, let's have a look at the Group 1s at Caulfield on Saturday, starting off with 1,000 guineas. And this is going to be a cracking race. Of course, the undefeated Smart Melody comes up in this. And Eyes, how do you see this playing out? Because obviously we know how good of a horse she is. She's obviously going to settle on pace. Where else do you see some of our other favoured runners positioning?
Well, I guess the real question is that it's the extra 200 metres. If it wasn't that, I don't think they'd handle Smart Melody. She's very, very good, and even at the extra 200 metres, she might be just too good. But like you said, from barrier 2, James McDonald, a star.
Isn't it good to see him back too?
He's the real J-Mac,
he is,
isn't he?
There hasn't been a bad one yet.
But having said that, and look, obviously we're going to talk to Jared with the Weir runners, but I just reckon this Smart Melody is certainly very good. But I liked what I saw in Thrillster and Eldorado Dreaming last time in the way they closed off. It won't be run at a pedestrian speed because it's a Guineas, so therefore does it set it up for one of these swoopers?
Yeah, well, you're always, it's a bit of a guessing game, isn't it, when you get out to that 1,600 metres. J-Mac, let's have a look at your runners. Amphitrite, of course, Chrome, both coming through the same race. How are those horses faring, mate? How they come through, and how have they felt this week?
Yeah, well, Amphitrite is in the Ballarat stable, so it's not down here with us, but Crone is. She's had a really good week. Obviously, she ran really well on Saturday. She gives every indication that she's looking for the 1,600 now. Mark Zara was very keen to stay on her, which is a big plus. Just from the draw, it might be a little bit tricky, but she'll be sort of middle of the pack somewhere with a 3-wide line with cover, and she'll be powering late. And if for me to have a pick in the race, she's certainly my pick.
What about the other Weir runner, Eyes, Anjana? I thought this was a nice run last start as well.
It was. I don't know what Weary did here from a barrier draw point of view. He hasn't.
Can't take a trick.
Nah,
yeah.
Horrible.
But he's still winning the races, isn't he?
Yeah, but I mean, it just says that you have to ride him, I guess, reasonably quiet. And interesting, Weary tipped us Amphitrite last Saturday, and he was right on the money there. And he loves backing horses up in trip too, doesn't he? So obviously she's come through it pretty well, you would imagine. Jared, like you said, she's up at Ballarat, but I liked what I saw there. And Crone, well, she doesn't do much wrong, but I guess where you're drawn with these three, you're going to rely on luck, aren't you?
She's going to need a lot of luck from the draw. So, and even the other filly, Anjana, she was really good last start. She probably settled a pair further back than Benny Allen would have liked on that occasion, and just got stuck behind something which was 100 to 1, and she was good late, so she gives every indication too that she'll run the 1,600.
Just interested with Jared too, in your thoughts on Smart Melody. Obviously drawn perfectly. We know she's going to be right up on speed. To your eye, on what you've seen, any query to you at the mile?
Always a query, but she does it, obviously doing it really well, and she's certainly a deserved favourite and looks very hard to beat for mine.
Righto, let's move along to the next race, which is, of course, the Toorak Handicap, and this is a really open race. Of course, Hartnell coming off a sensational win in Sydney last start. He's the $6 favourite in the field. But outside that, and I know one of your favourite horses, J Mac, Blackheart Bart, goes around at really juicy odds. What have you done differently, mate, leading into this race?
Oh, Bart, he just hasn't had much luck. It's fair to say that, he's certainly at the crossroads of his career as far as, he's a 5-time Group 1 winner, and you don't like to see horses battle the way he has the last two, but he's just had no luck either. Like, you walk away scratching your head. We're hoping back to handicap we can see similar to what Hartnell done 2 weeks ago in Sydney, where they just come back a peg. They're still at the elite level, but they're just back a peg in handicap. Family carries 56 and Johnny Allen goes on top. So from the draw, he too, he should be just forward to midfield somewhere. Hopefully can get a cosy run, and if class was to shine, he'd be winning the race. So certainly my heart's with him come Saturday.
And one thing about him, on the strength of what he's done, Jared, he's very well weighted. But interestingly, Brad Willa does get the heave-ho because he's had a long association with this horse, but just rolling the dice and trying someone else.
Yeah, well, not so much a heave-ho. 56 Brad struggles at, so Johnny gets to sit.
That's a good excuse.
Good excuse. And
isn't Johnny going super though too?
Well,
he's flying, isn't he?
Leading rider in the country at the moment. So.
Yeah, he's great, Johnny. He's just got a bump. He's still got the stigma of being a jumps jockey, which is surprisingly still hard for Darren to get him on some of the better horses, but he's certainly not just a jumps jockey. They don't get much better, I don't think.
Now, similar here, what have you done? Because Weary, you've got, what have we got? Barrier 9, 16. No, one's got 18 and one's got 19. You haven't...
I was going to say, tell us about Land of Plenty, because well on the market, this is certainly his class. Barrier 19, what are you going to do here, mate?
Just from the draw, he's just got no option but to go back and ride for luck. Toss and Stardom did jump from 16 in this race last year.
Yep.
Damien went back, circled the field and got the job done. So hopefully history can repeat itself that way. If he draws a gate, he posies up and rides a good tempo. But as I say, there's no option but to go back. Went to Penshurst on Monday for his final gallop. On the clock, him and Native Soldier, they were the best. He probably pulled up a little bit better than Native Soldier on that occasion. And any sort of luck, he's certainly our best hope of winning that race.
And in my notes here, I don't reckon the barrier's going to be a drama.
Well,
I reckon
not after hearing that either.
Well, no, something from a wide go to win it, because I've written here they'll go like Cut Cats, which I reckon they will. Enormous speed in the race, so I reckon one of those ones, providing even if you're 3 wide with cover. In fact, that can be a lane to be because you don't get into trouble.
That's right. And if they really run along it, it gives Damien that option to sort of slot in just off midfield and ride him like the best horse. And he's a cracking individual of a horse, still an Entie, so it'd be a great result if you could win a Group 1.
And 53 kg.
Well,
so
I was going to talk about weight. I was going to ask about Cliff's Edge, because that horse does come down in weight, carrying 52. Another tricky barrier, 16, but did win well last start. Good to see him back in the winner's circle. Really good, and if it come down to toughness, there's probably none tougher than him. A grueling run, 1600, he'll be thereabouts. Whereas if Land of Plenty happens to get the sit on him and flash at him late, he's probably going to be a bit sharper. Yeah.
And he's probably a horse too that once he strikes form, he holds it, doesn't he, Cliff's Edge? So if he'd have drawn a gate, he'd obviously be probably a lot closer to this hectic speed, and you might fancy him more. But I still reckon he's probably pretty versatile. He can be back and finish off.
Not going to have any weight on his back. He's
No,
that's just he's going to be climbing over the back of him at some stage.
Absolutely.
You would think. Let's move along now to the Caulfield Stakes. And I'll tell you what, I reckon this is one of the best races, or the best fields I've seen assembled for some time. You've got Humidor, Toes and Basil, Harlem, of course, the Australian Cup winner, Homesman, which won well last start, Knight's Watch, a horse on the up that just continues to improve, and the 2 Waller horses, D'Argento and, of course, Unforgotten, both got a heap of ability. This is going to be a cracker, Ice.
Absolutely, and you know what, Jared? When I looked at this field, when it first came out, I thought, maybe you could have waited another week with your tough old Trap for Fools, because I reckon there's a lack of speed here for such a quality race. Looking back through all his tapes, I thought the top one, the Import Bin Battle, probably from the inside gate, might nearly lead on his ear here. And for that reason, I reckon if he's travelled and everything else, he's going to be awfully hard to beat, because the way I read it, I reckon that most of the others will like to settle off speed. So
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Look, and Jared, a couple of your horses, Humidor, Toes and Basil, probably going to settle back. Night's Watch, another one. What's the plan here, mate? Do you think eyes might be right? There might be a lack of speed in this race.
Yeah, and because of the lack of speed, though, from gate 2 with Toss and Basil, Johnny, he's got the option of taking the box seat, which I think he will. For that reason, Humidor will be back in the second half of the field. Night's Watch, he goes back, and we'll have a look at him for next Saturday for the Caulfield Cup. So, Toss and Basil, he's certainly my pick.
Well, I'll tell you what, I saw you tweet after his second last start. You were pretty impressed, and the Caulfield Cup, obviously, that's the goal with this horse, because he was super impressive last start.
Yeah, well, Melbourne Cup's his race.
Yep.
He 3200 at Flemington. That's definitely his race. It was when he ran first up in the Mackay. I was on radio with 927, and I actually said that people will think, wow, what's this? And I think he was $23 for the Melbourne Cup at that time, and I thought he would shorten, but unbeknown to me, he actually got out to 100 to 1 off the back of a poor run, so I didn't get any of the hundreds, but it was more a relief to see him run as good as he did in the Underwood, because he's been showing that at home. I think Johnny was really the key to him on that occasion. For whatever reason, he just didn't go for Jay Childs at Flemington first up. So, yeah, as I say, from the good draw, take up a spot. I think he'll be beating both hours home in that.
Yeah, and again, the interesting part of the equation here is the bottom three: D'Argento, Sedanza, and Unforgotten. The Sydney form. Where does that measure up? I'm sure they're all very good horses, but with those three and then the imports as well to contend with. It's a really interesting race. I reckon it's open. I love Night's Watch. I reckon he's a beauty, and from that barrier, again, he's not going to be that far off him, and he's a beauty.
I wanted to ask Jared, because I think it was Night's Watch and Kingswood Dream, that gallop the week before, and Night's Watch looked like he was absolutely on the bit, didn't he? He was swinging on that horse that day.
Yeah, you could definitely argue that Night's Watch worked better on that occasion, and obviously Kingswood Dream came out and still ran really well in the Turnbull. So it was good work, and again, he's galloped good at Penshurst. So he still has to take the next step, the weight for age, which he proved at Moonee Valley. He's not far away at that level, but more importantly, just like to see him powering through the line and hopefully set himself up for a big run in the Caulfield Cup the following week.
And Jared, there was a little knock on that form, Magic Console, but it's all stood up. Through the lights of Hartnell, etc. Yep. It's all stood up. And the other thing about this horse is, because Caulfield can be a bit tricky, but Night's Watch is 3 for 3 at the track. There's no problem to hit him running up the hill, etc. So
absolutely.
Again, I'm pretty keen on him, and I reckon you're going to get a price too.
And I reckon 2 out of 2 with Benny Allen on board.
Yeah, and two from 3 at the trip here at Caulfield. So he's a beauty.
Ticks.
I'll tell you what,
we got you keener.
Talk me into it.
Boys, let's move along and have a look at the Caulfield Guineas. Always an amazing race, this race, and this year's going to be no exception. The Autumn Sun, Chris Waller. $1.90 in the markets. We know how good this horse is. Magnificent last start in Sydney. Kind of came off a pretty slow speed in Sydney and picked them up unbelievably well, didn't he, Eyes? Going to be hard to beat, but I'll tell you what, I'm keen as mustard on this horse of yours, and I'm keen to hear what you have to say, Jared, Native Soldier, because I reckon has not drawn a barrier, but just has continued to get the job done.
Yeah, again, I wrote that down. Like, he's been terrific at Caulfield at his last 2 visits, and both from wide gates.
Yeah.
Sometimes a horse like him, that can sort of help too, because they blend across, but this time he's drawn a gate. But I tell you what, this bloke from Sydney, firstly, I love his name, the Autumn Sun. How good a name is it?
Yeah.
But he's the real deal. Already he's won 2 Group 1s. Once at the trip on heavy ground in Brisbane, I remember, and he's the real deal. And his form might be way better than the others. That could be the query.
Yes, yeah. It does bring him unstuck though, Jared, doesn't it? Coming to Caulfield for the first time. In the Guineas, we've seen a lot of Sydney horses over the years. Same things happen. Big spruik on some of these horses, but this horse really could be the real deal.
Yeah, you're right, it can, but yeah, he looks to be exceptional, this bloke. Obviously for us, Native Soldier, he'll be, if he's not leading, he'll be definitely racing on speed. He'll control the race, and for mine, I think he'll look the winner at the 300. He's a query at the 1600, but I think he'll get away with it at this stage of his preparation. And I just hope the Autumn Sun gets shuffled back in a bit of traffic. And Benny Allen's often gone on Native Soldier, but I think he's our pick in the race. Leonardo's done nothing wrong, but
Yep.
his last win didn't actually rate that well on paper.
Yeah, right.
Brad done everything he could to get him beat on that occasion, but he still rose to the occasion and got the job done. He's a promising horse, but just from the draw and with his immaturity, I think he's going to be better suited to the Australian Guineas come March.
Yeah, good stuff.
And you're spot on, it didn't rate that well, but what I liked about his win there, and it's very hard to do at the Valley, he was stop and start, and he still managed to find the line. Which
he won against the pattern on the night, and which is a sign of a promising horse. So, as I say, he's not going to run bad, but I think Native Soldier's our best chance.
And quickly, there's a filly down the bottom, Uhu, who got that up till last time. Like, she's won nearly $2 million.
Yeah.
Up until last time, she was the best credentialed non-winner in the country, but now she's got the win. I tell you what, I wouldn't, and drawn perfectly. Not beyond her either. She's the interesting one in the mix.
Super impressive last start too. So watch this space there. It's going to be a cracking day's racing at Caulfield. What's your best, Jared, at Caulfield on Saturday?
Well, we haven't touched on him, but I'll stick with the old favourite, Voodoo Lad. He loves Caulfield. Brad Rowella, gate 5. He has a lot of ticks, and I think he was probably unlucky not to be considered for the Everest. Good consolation in the Scalacci, and he'll be mighty hard to beat.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. What about you, Oz, at Caulfield?
I really reckon that the Autumn Sun might stamp himself as the best youngster around, and he'll have to, like Jared said, he'll have to get out and after Native Soldier, which won't be an easy task, but everything I've seen points to this bloke being a beauty.
I'm going to stick with J-Mac. He's got me even more keen. Toes of Basil at about 10 or 11 bucks. I reckon that is really good value, and no speed, and I love these Japanese horses.
I know it's not in your notes, but while we've got Jared here, I'd love to ask him about Big Duke in the Herbert Power in the last.
Absolutely.
Absolutely no luck. Big forgive last start.
No luck or slaughter?
Slaughter both.
We're not jockey bashing on here, though.
but that race, that last, a Gaelic Chieftain, terrific. Look, showed that there's another win, not far away for him. But your thoughts on both runners there, Jared?
Yeah, well, Big Duke, he's a favourite of mine. I think if we got a wet track, he'd be probably our better chance in a Melbourne Cup on wet ground. Just for mine, I'd really like to see him on softer ground. I know he's won at Caulfield in the past, but I just thought that,
should have stayed in Sydney.
Possibly should have stayed in Sydney for the St Ledger, but he's sort of on the Caulfield Melbourne Cup path. I'm not knocking the horse. I've always been a big fan, but I just reckon on top of the ground, it makes it that bit tougher for him. Whereas on the other hand, Gaelic Chieftain, he's been a nemesis of mine on the punt, whether I bet against him or with him.
A lot of people,
he's hard to catch, but his run at the Valley was outstanding second up, and galloped really good on Monday. So he appears to have taken the improvement that's required. If he's not winning this, he's certainly going to be hard to beat in the Geelong Cup. So,
and again, the Warrnambool Cup form with Yogi, etc., has been fine, hasn't it?
It's been enormous. Yeah. I reckon Yogi's a Melbourne Cup chance, live chance, and I reckon Gaelic Chieftain's about 50th in order for the Caulfield Cup. So
he has to win to get in the Caulfield Cup.
Yeah. So watch this space with that one. Let's turn our attention now to the big race in Sydney. Of course, the Everest. It is going to be a huge day's racing right across the country, but this is the sprint race. It's worth a hell of a lot of money, and there's a horse in there that ran third last year in the race from the DK Weir Camp, Greg Colson, called Brave Smash, who's about 13 or 14 bucks, and they've had a heap of rain during the week. It's going to be an interesting race because a lot of the horses, they've been up for a while, a few of them, and they've had to kind of obviously sustain some of their work and stuff to kind of get to the Everest. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, isn't it?
It is, and the track today rated a heavy 8, so a lot depends, I guess, on how much rain between now and then. But Brave Smash, he's awfully close to the mark.
Can I just ask Jared, Brave Smash on the heavy ground, is it unknown, or do you feel like he gets through the ground all right?
Oh, I've always prayed for this day to come where we get wet ground. He's trolled and galloped in it and always gone so much better. He's got that sort of sharp, pokey, short action, which gives, I just think you'll love the wet, and I can't wait to see him let rip on Saturday.
Maybe another interesting aspect too, being Randwick, if it is a wet track, inside-ish gates. So the two I like are Brave Smash, and I've had something on both, Brave Smash and Shoals. And I reckon both of them wet track, absolutely no issue. But, you want to be sort of getting you'll have to be getting off to some degree, but how far off the inside you want to be too is another question mark.
Tricky later on the day too, isn't it? A bit of wear and tear inside of the
For the
track.
quality of the race, though, I don't reckon there's that much speed in it.
Yeah, well, true.
And from the draw, Red Zell's got no choice but to kick up. So I just reckon Brave Smash camps off a moderate tempo, and for that reason, hopefully it's hard for the back markers to come into play, and he can negotiate a course.
And Osborne Bulls now with a run as well. You know, if Jungle Edge was in there on a wet track, well, you'd know how it'd be run, don't you? But you're right, Jared. There is some query there, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Watch this space there. You've also got the People's Champ, of course. Brian, how good's this horse going? And in the last race at Sydney, mate, how's he preparing?
Yeah, well, Brian's probably fair to say he's overachieved this prep. All of a sudden, he's found himself in a rating of 82, so he's that little bit hard to place. But he's in great order. He's travelled up well. The last couple of times he's drawn gates 2 and 3, and everything's just panned out perfect for him. Whereas we might be out of luck now drawing 15, but
yeah, it might be the place to be.
Back to 1,000 on wet ground. It gives you no option but to go back and ride into strong late. So. He's not going to run bad, but as I say, we might have used up all our luck tickets, I think.
He might grow another leg on the wet. He hasn't even seen that, and he's been enormous. So
he's playing it down a bit. He's a known wet track, and he's been winning on good threes. So he'll give a sight for the punters. He'll be about $15 again each way. So. Fingers crossed.
You've got your work cut out, because I reckon all the members of the family might be going in. The owners now, are they hard work?
Bad luck, hard work and bad luck. But anyway, get up there and enjoy the big day of the Everest, and hopefully we can become a winner.
I was actually thinking you might have been able to get a horse in the Kosciuszko or something, mate. Surely we could have got something going around.
Yeah, wrong part of the country for us.
He's going to the Hamilton Cup though. Is DK Weir and Jared McLean, Cougar Express, of course, last year's star over the jumps. How's he ticking along?
Really good. He only had a couple of weeks off after the National, so he's we've kept him up to the mark. So the 2200 won't be a problem. We're hopefully on track to get to the Jericho Cup here at Warrnambool in December. He has no points for that at the moment, but there's a couple of options going forward to try and get a couple of points. But this looks a good kick-off point for him. He goes good for the Irishman, obviously Shane Jackson, but we've got Declan Bates on, gate 7.
He's still Irish.
Just keep the Irishman on,
Keep the Irishman on. He likes that. And no, he's not there to win it, but he's not there to run bad either. He'll give a sight.
I'll tell you what, he's looking close. His last week of Weary's, I thought he was awfully close to winning.
It's going to be a great day up at Hamilton on Saturday, to be honest.
You're there.
I am up there on Saturday. It's going to be huge. I think there's a bus from Warrnambool going too, and it's good to see them trying different things, and I think trying to really spark that cup day up again. You know,
free coach too from the Kelly Hotel.
Awesome.
So get on board. It's the only stop in Warrnambool that's taking you up to Hamilton, and
and the weather looks magnificent.
Oh, it'd be great.
22 or something on Saturday, and you got Caulfield race on the big screen. Of course, the Everest up in Sydney. It's going to be all happening. That is for sure. We hope you've enjoyed the Friday fill up. As we said, just something different.
Touch this bloke for luck.
Yes, I tell you what, I'm fire at the moment. Team McLean and also Team DK Weir, that is for sure. We hope you get a winner over the weekend.